Today I would like to talk about a new channel that I'm opening, Top Contender Boxing. We talk about all weights, all divisions, all style of fighting, where we're not biased, we're not racial, where we choose our style of fighters or our ethnicity fighters. I understand that this is all tribal sometimes to some people, but in reality, when you have someone great that you're watching that's got pure talent, you can't hate on their talent. You can't hate on that style of fighting. You must appreciate it. So, with that, I would like to talk about one of the divisions, the light heavyweight division, the May 7th bout between Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol. Let's start off with Dmitry Bivol. He's a Russian descent. He's a 31-year-old fighter, 6 foot tall, 19 wins, 0 losses. You know, in his last 3 bouts, he fought 3 guys with losses on their records, 2 to 3 to 4 losses on their records, ties on their records. I mean, for a 6 foot fighter at 175, he's not that tall and he's not that small. He's just right in the middle. You know, in his last fights, he wasn't really completely dominating. You know, I study the game enough. I study the game enough to know that there's a difference between being dominated or being outpointed. And in that fight, he outpointed them. He boxed them, you know, with his European style. He did a lot of boxing. He did a lot of moving around. He didn't do too much head hunting. And when he did head hunt, you can kind of see it left him open. His defense was a bit open with his head hunting. He doesn't really go too much to the body. You know, when he does, it leaves him open. I don't know if it's his style of defense or if it's his style. He leaves himself open. If you watch his last couple fights, all the way to Joe Smith Jr., you know, his style changed. His style is differently. I don't know if it's COVID that changes you or what. You know, in some of the fights he's going forward, then you notice him going backwards on some of his fights. You know, and for that, you know, it leaves me questionable. I think there's holes and openings for Canelo to exploit. I personally don't think he has power like Kovalik, Bivol. To me, Bivol was, you know, to me, Kovalik is the heavier 175 pounder, where his body sat and where his body was filled at 175, where you can feel his punches, you can see his punches. You know, he had more domination in the fight. With Bivol, I feel like he's outboxing guys. He's not really hurting guys. And for Canelo, on Canelo's aspect, you know, I mean, what's there to say? The man has come up weight from 147 to 175. I mean, I understand, you know, like coming up weight can hurt you or it can be beneficial. And what he's shown at 68, what he's shown at 60, is that he's only able to take the punches a lot easier. And when I saw him against Kovalik in 2019, he had the high guard defense against Kovalik. He didn't do too much movement. You know, I'm pretty sure he wasn't sure of his power at that time. But he was able to pull off that win, able to time Kovalik, able to counter him beautifully, able to defend some of his punches. And Kovalik has a very strong jab where, you know, I was thinking in this fight, I don't know if Canelo's going to be taking punishment or look at him, you know, hide away with that high guard. But he was slowly inching his way in that fight. And what he did was prove us all wrong in that fight at 175. He was able to take the bigger man down. And that was just one style of defense he has, because Canelo has different styles of defense where he'll just use his head movement, or he'll move off his back foot, or he's got the high guard, or he'll just come in and dominate you. And in his last fight against Caleb Plant at 68, I could tell in that fight he wasn't afraid, or the punches didn't phase him off what Caleb was giving. You know, yeah, at 75 it's going to be a different approach, but I personally think this fight will be no different from fighting Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs had beautiful jabs, beautiful combinations, beautiful movement. You know, Danny Jacobs in that fight against Canelo hydrated at $190. So it's not like Canelo's not been used to this weight. So 175, I think Bivol and Canelo, they're about what? They're about the same age, 31 years of age. So it's not like they're, you know, Canelo's fighting an older man or even younger man. They're fighting each other in their prime. I just think Canelo, with his skill set, with his combinations, with his reflexes, he's going to be able to move around on Bivol, make him miss. Because Bivol, personally, I think he leaves himself open. And Canelo's counters, he'll be able to counter Bivol to the body. That, in my eyes, will be the main factor in this fight, will be the body. Because what you see Canelo do to the bigger guy, he chops him down like trees. Look what he did to Callum Smith. What he did to Plant. Obviously, he couldn't knock Caleb Plant out earlier. So what he had to do was break him down to the body. That's what slowed him down, and that's what left him open. Same thing with B.J. Saunders. B.J. Saunders was a good fighter. I think, he moved around real nice until Canelo timed him and found him and discovered him and put him together like a puzzle. So, I personally believe on May 7th, Canelo to the body will hurt him. I'm 50-50 on a knockout. But I'm 100% sure Canelo's going to have a win on that night. Canelo just knows how to outpoint you, outpower you, outmaneuver you, outstrategize you. He's only just proven it in his 57 fights. Bivol only has 19 professional fights. Canelo has 57 professional fights. That should tell you enough, that resume. I mean, they don't hire people at work because you have nothing on your resume. They hire you because you have the best resume and you're there to prove something. And I think Canelo's only proven himself through time and time again. I would like to leave off there with that. Thank you. Everyone subscribe and like.